Technology has hurt in a lot of ways, but it's helped in a lot of ways. And one of the ways that it's helped is that there's so much information and straight up just like college lectures on places like YouTube, right? This whole audio visual. And I was listening to a podcast with Jordan Peterson, and it was interesting with on Joe Rogan, and it was interesting to hear how he talked about how technology has come to the point where YouTube and like YouTube, the ability to create and consume visual content so quickly, we take advantage of that. But this is like a technological revolution akin to, let's say, for example, like the Gutenberg press, right? The ability to go from spoken to printed word, being able to read words, that's insane.
I just spilled my beer. I got a bunch of napkins here. Oh my god. Oh no. Bouncy, the quicker picker up. Listen, if this is not a ad moment for Bounty, like I don't know what is.
We already plugged the sponsor. We're good. Yeah, I'll plug you. Check Abstract out on Twitch at AbstractOW. Check him out on Twitter at abstract_OW. Check him out on TikTok at abstractow. You can check out
Marcus. If Bounty is looking for someone to sponsor.
Yeah, any sponsors in the crowd, any rich oil princes.
It's only the first episode, but we're ready.
Yeah. It's gone pretty good, all things considered, for our first episode.
Thank you for springing into action, Ashley.
Shout out to Ash for clutching. But it's so interesting that like there's straight up like full college lectures on YouTube. And you know what's so going from spoken word to written word, right? There's, there wasn't a lot of people that read. Nowadays, there's a lot more people that read. But you know what? There's even more people that can talk and hear and listen than there are people that can read and write. That's just how it is, right? You need to be able to speak and listen to function, minus maybe a physical disability. But you don't necessarily need to read or write to live. I mean, obviously a lot of people have literacy, but there's a lot of people that don't. So consuming this, visual content or auditory content it's amazing the wealth of knowledge that's out there that's free. If you wanted to be, when people ask me, I want to make, what's the life path I should choose right now, right? I had a cousin who came to me and he's like, I'm 18, I'm graduating high school. Like, what should I go into? Maybe give me some sort of direction. Give me some advice. And I was like, if you want to do something like engineering, right? Or if you want to be a doctor, I would recommend going to college because you can't set up your own, cadaver. I mean, you could, but it's illegal. You can't legally set up your own cadaver to do experiments. You're not tapping into your neighbor's power lines in order to do, your electronics labs. So like for those things, but for a lot of things, the knowledge that you can get from something like YouTube is enough to where like even like programming, right? You can do like Code Academy or these coding sites or Python, and you can learn enough to make enough money to support yourself. Even like remote jobs. The one benefit of COVID is how many companies had to adapt in working remotely and are now just straight up hiring remotely because they're like, oh shit, not paying taxes on a building, not paying for the power, not paying for the internet, just shuffling all those expenses off onto our employees. Hey, we make a good amount of money. They seem to work when they're happy. They do more work. So, hey, we want to hire remote. It's crazy.
I have a bunch of friends who are currently working from home due to COVID, and they all of their companies just announced that after COVID they're still going to work.
Yeah.
So like it's great, and in the fact, going back to what you said about YouTube and all the information being out there, one of my good friends, his name is Dom. He is one of the like martyrs of like just tech in general on Twitter. He's like one of the big guys. He actually landed a job with I think he landed a job with Google, being like one of the front end developers,
right?
And he is majority self-taught. And when I was interested in learning programming and everything, he compiled an entire list of free like free websites and free learning courses on how to code. Like you can literally freelance yourself into a top tier job
Yes.
by just building a portfolio and learning on your own.
And if you're still too lazy to even search out these free resources, you can do something like I think it's called Revenant, or it's some company like that, something along those lines. And it's a company where they will pay for you to fly out and stay in somewhere like Florida, and you go through classes, you go through a bunch of workshops, and you essentially get like a computer science degree in a matter of months. And then when you graduate, they have all these other companies that are like, we guarantee when they graduate from our program, they'll be available for coding. So you have these companies that are like, okay, yeah, just ship us, easy to hire. We know they know how to code. And they take a portion of your paycheck, but they teach you exactly what you need to know. They guarantee line you up with a job when you're done with their course. They take a portion after that. But I mean, it's like the military, right? Like you have all these people a lot of people that join the military, and I know this because I had friends that did this, where when they don't have a direction, they're like, well, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to be a lawyer, but like, I don't want to work at McDonald's. I'll just join the military, right? Like I'll figure it out after I leave the military. They'll help pay for college. So you don't necessarily nowadays need to join the military if you have no direction and you just want to, you can join one of these programs where you'll learn how to program, you'll get a job. And I think that's really cool. I think that's a really good benefit that technology has, kind of enabled that was never really there before.
I agree. Like when it comes to like free sources online, I've sought out so many free sources. I would tell you the way I started streaming was free sources online. Like when you first start streaming, when you first start doing anything, what's the first thing you do? Go to YouTube, right? I want to fix my car. I don't know how to fix my car. What do? I look up weird noise on Mazda 6 2005. That's what I look up, right?
And the crazy thing, YouTube is the second most used search engine in the world behind Google.
And that, dude, is crazy because YouTube has an endless wealth of knowledge and
it's visual.
They said it on visual as well. It's very visual. So like if I want to learn, when I built my computer, I don't know how to build a computer. I watched a YouTube video and I did that myself. Like, there was on a
as opposed to reading a 45-page manual.
Exactly. On a recent Joe Rogan podcast that I was listening to, they said that there's like 100 million videos on YouTube uploaded every minute, and that's every minute, dude. So like, you can imagine, like, we have never had this kind of access to information in our entire lives. Now I can literally sit down and I can find the answer to literally anything. When I make a meal,
that's such a good point. That's such a good point. I had a friend where I was telling him I was a couple years back when the Back to the Future, like when they're in the future, that date, like it was like, oh, we're at that point in Back to the Future when he went to the future and like, it was crazy and they had hoverboards and look at us, we have cars still. And I was like, well, I was complaining. I was like, yeah, why don't we have floating cars? Why don't we have all these, things that they show in the future? And my friend said, yeah, it's, we don't have floating cars. We only have all of the collective human knowledge from as far back as recorded, accessible at our fingertips in a matter of seconds.
Exactly. Lyric just pulled up a thing, facts and numbers. 300 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute, dude.
That's crazy.
Of content. So like when you talk about like what makes you want to build your stream and what makes you, let's take it a step further. What makes me, Adam Keilyk, what makes me so social and want to talk to so many people?
Right.
Because when I go out, I look at every person as a wealth of knowledge that I can learn something from them. When I'm talking to you, Marcus, I think of like, this guy knows so much that I don't, that I can take in and I can like use to better myself. Think about all the things that are on YouTube that you can use to better yourself.
Exactly.
Like, it just gives everybody an outlet to like I know this cool fact about something that only 5,000 people know about. Let me post it to YouTube. Let me make a 5-minute video on it and post it to YouTube. Like, it's crazy. And like that also comes back into making content, right? If you're passionate about something, if you know something, what's stopping you from making a video of that?
Yep.
Like, if I know how to fix a car better than anybody else, I'm gonna make a video, right? Like, there are people out there, and you got to get out of that mindset too, of like, oh man, there's somebody out there already who's making better content than me or knows more than me. No, nobody knows what you know. You're the only person that can
True.
express what you know. So if I want to make a video on how to become really good at Overwatch, I can make a video on how to become good at Overwatch from my perspective. Like, it's that easy to like get your information out there, but it's also just as easy to consume that information from other people.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing in the current context is being able to distinguish yourself from all that other content that's out there.
You are the only constant.
Yeah, and what can you do that is maybe setting you apart?